Because if you have immediately at hand a weapon that can kill a lot of people in a short period of time, what then happens is that an impulse, a hateful impulse, is turned into a murderous assault.
Welcome to the Go Use Australia podcast. It's the podcast for Australian shooters who just want the political interferers taken out of shooting.
So welcome to another episode of Gun News Australia, brought to you by Politics Reloaded and Gun Traders Australia. Thank you again to everybody who supports the program, and I guess the purpose of this episode is to seek your support on something that is badly needed. Now, a little while ago, I reported that I had a fairly significant freedom of information request that had been sent out to a number of registries and to the Federal Attorney General's Department. And that relates to the Firearms and Weapons Policy Working Group, which is the registries who get together a couple of times a year where they talk about what they want to do to us. And it's very opaque. It's very hard to get anything out of the policy working group. In fact, you get nothing. You don't get minutes, you don't get anything. And yet what they do around the table is clearly going to affect shooters going forward. And of course, with the events happening in Western Australia and also a little bit that's coming out of Queensland, there's no doubt that this group, the registries, will be talking about basically replicating whatever happened in Western Australia to the other states. And it goes both ways. So there's no doubt that Western Australia will try to bring in more restrictions. And in fact, one thing which they could do quite easily is change the regulations at any time. So this freedom of information request that's gone out is significant, because if it uncovers what they're doing, then we can expose it. We can talk about it, and we can also complain about it to governments. But at the moment, this is a working group of bureaucrats that's beyond reach. Except that we have fought tooth and nail for a response to a FOI request to the Federal Attorney General's Department. And you'll recall that we recently put out an episode where we revealed what was happening in Queensland. That is, that the weapons licensing branch is looking at bringing in the photograph ID scanning technology that's used at nightclubs prior to people who are unlicensed being able to attend ranges. So if you have Joe and Mary who live down the road from a shooting range who want to go and try shooting out because, hey, it's just down the road and it looks great, they would need to be vetted by this scanning technology because it's linked to a database that the Queensland Police administer. Now, that's obviously a major inconvenience. It's also a major cost because you've got to install this stuff, and it can only be operated by licensed crowd controllers. So I put that story out because that was the outcome, one outcome of the freedom of information request so far. Now, I'm going to show you a little bit about that request because it leads to the next chapter, which is a big legal fight. So this is the letter or notice of decision that was provided to me a while ago in July. And there was another attachment which actually had the more substantive detail, the actual stuff that had been provided to us and also not provided to us. And that's this document. Now, what we're looking at here is 128 pages. And by the way, there is another document that was provided also. But this is 128 pages of information that came out of that policy working group over a number of years. Now, you can see here there are some agenda items listed, but there's a lot of grey areas. And those grey areas are basically the bits and pieces that were redacted or removed from the information that came back to us through this request. Now, I put an appeal in to get access to those areas that were greyed out. The reason why they were greyed out is because the department argued that they were irrelevant to the scope of the request. or they're exempted rather, because they related to the functionings of the department, etc. However, the argument that I put forward is this, that the federal government does not administer our gun laws. Yes, they do at the border, and obviously there's on Commonwealth property, there's some jurisdiction, but what we're talking about here is not in Commonwealth property. So they have no jurisdiction, which means there's no decisions they make that they can protect through the exemption. And it comes to me from a lawyer who actually works in this space. My appeal was denied, and it went to the Office of the Australian Information Commissioner, who has failed to make a decision, and they are actually not obliged to make a decision. However, I can appeal that to the Commonwealth Administrative Tribunal. It's called the AAT. Now, in order to go to the AAT, that's a different kettle of fish. That's where there's a $1,200 close enough to application fee, and there'll be a need to hire a lawyer to run the case for us. So I am seeking donations. I need your help to be able to enable us to lodge the appeal within 3 weeks, so before the end of September, and I want to hire somebody to be able to do that. So I want this information that has been withheld from you and me to be basically to run the gauntlet and say, no, we want a decision as to whether we can get access to that, because they're using excuses that are really hiding embarrassment. They just don't want the information to go out. They don't have a legal reason to withhold it, because they have they can't rely on the exceptions. I know it's complicated, it's convoluted. Short version is, this is a chance for shooters to be able to back a freedom of information fight through the courts, and I'm looking for donations. So if you think this is a cause worth supporting, then all you need to do to donate is go to our website, which is politicsreloaded.com, and then just go to our donation page. It's on the menu at the top. Just go for donate, and then down the bottom you'll find there's the links, and you can donate using QR code or through PayPal. And what we'll do is, by the end of this month, if we've got enough to proceed, we will definitely file, and if we don't, then the money goes back to you. So that's my appeal for now. This is a great opportunity for us to uncover the discussions that happen around the national table, and and also here's the QR code on the screen for you as well. So thank you very much for your time, and we will see you later. Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Gun News Australia, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you're a supporter through Patreon, you'll get access to early release of the episodes as soon as they're uploaded, as well as the special weekly updates. So to support our work, simply go to patreon.com/politicsreloaded, or use the QR code on the screen, or see the description in this episode for details.